Welcome back. It's been a while. We haven't really been back since the beginning of the preseason, but Javal and I are back. Javal, how have you been?
The better question is how good have the Jags been? Because undefeated preseason, baby, offense is looking like how we expect it to be. So, life is good. Doug Peterson is our head coach. Trevor Lawrence is our quarterback. We have Calvin Elliott and Christian Kirk and Zay Jones and Evan Ingram and ETN and Tank Bigsby. And don't even let me get started on the depth receivers. I'd really be here all day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can get really to it as soon as you can. So, what is your thoughts over the course of the preseason? But I guess we'll more focus on the Dolphins game last Saturday. It was just offensive domination for whenever the starters were on there. It would have been even a worse score line if Tank Bigsby doesn't fumble at the 1 yard line.
I mean, I guess my general preseason overreact. Are we calling this overreaction or like we're just being realistic? So reactions.
I mean,
Because
just
if I
say
have a
how you
preseason,
feel. It's if you want to say we're gonna score 40 points a game, then go ahead and say it.
oh, there's nothing stopping me from thinking that the Jags aren't at least putting up like 35, bro. Like even. But my thing is, even with the Jags backup, because every time you've watched preseason, even when the starters were playing, it wouldn't look great all the time. And then especially when the starters were out, it would just be terrible depth, especially, receivers. This year, back preseason has been so fun to watch, mainly due to just because of how the depth at receiver is shaken out. I think that's the biggest takeaway is, even now there's I think Kevin Austin, as we're recording this on Monday, he already got released and people were hyping him up at camp. And the crazy thing is he didn't really play that games, and there were still a bunch of other guys who stepped up. So the receiver depth is crazy, and I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. Just seeing how we've been able to develop guys as a staff. The DBs has also been very deep too as a room, but just seeing how the depth behind the starters looks immensely better than last year. I'm like, okay, we look like an NFL team now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. We had guys on both sides of the balls making plays, especially wide receiver and maybe those corner positions that we were questioning early on, especially, we were questioning Trey Herndon ever since the end of the draft because he's gonna be our slot guy. Preseason so far, he hasn't really faced a lot of first team, but when he has, like he did against Miami, he held his own pretty well. So
I will say, yeah, I was just rewatching the Miami game. The third down, where Miami was in the red zone and Herndon had a pass breakup. It was a little mesh concept, which just very ironic because I know Doug loves a lot of mesh, especially in like the red zone. I remember we had a Zay touchdown last year, but a little mesh concept. It was man, and Herndon does a very good job because the two routes are supposed to intersect. Is like kind of like a pick play. Herndon does a very good job getting over Foy in the tight end and being able to do a pretty good recognition. So good job by Herndon. We'll give praises to where praises due. So,
yeah.
and even on the commentary, Sexton was saying, mentioned how Herndon's fighting for a spot. So, we'll see.
Yeah, and if you do take anything away, if you're our big PFF guy, I know we're not most big PFF guys, but he was one of the higher rated defensive players when he was on the field the other day.
PFF is only good when it's an agenda I want to push.
Yeah,
If it's a
exactly.
player has a bad PFF grade that I think is good, or vice versa, then I don't recognize PFF.
But
If PFF,
you know who's had a good PFF all preseason? Yasir
oh
Abdullah.
really?
Yasir Abdullah's had a very good PFF, and he got what, a forced fumble, a sack, and a pick on this entire preseason. Did he get a forced fumble,
I
or am
don't
I
know about
making
the
that one up?
forced fumble, but I
What, a
know
pass
he had the
deflection
sack.
and an
He had a
interception.
I think it was like four pressures, a sack, and a pick.
Okay.
So very,
Okay.
very,
That
very
sounds more
production.
realistic. Yeah.
I mean, hey, I'll take that, especially, just given that he's still getting his feet underneath him.
Yeah.
So, very excited to see Sear. Um, I guess I'm trying to think of like a weekly game by game recap since, it was like first Dallas, then Detroit, then Miami. If there's anything that stood out specifically each games or because there's like a few there's a lot of different players we could talk about because like you said the depth of this team has been it's been a highlight, so a lot of
Yeah.
players we can possibly talk about.
Yeah, go for it. I already named two in Trey Herndon and Yasir Abdullah, so I think it'd be fair for you to get two players you want to talk about right now.
I guess trying to think back to the Dallas game, did anybody flash? I mean, I guess I'll try to talk about maybe like another receiver and a depth player. But I guess in terms of the depth, man, the nickel corner spot's been heating up, man. I mean, I know we talked a lot about before the draft how we're anxious, a lot of depth players, but I mean, Greg Jr., we haven't mentioned him, but
Oh
he's been the
yeah.
story of the preseason. He had the huge game in Dallas, and they had the pick versus Detroit. Didn't do as much versus Miami, but still played, I think, pretty solid. And the fact that he's on the edge to start, I mean, just, be carried over from camp. And even Christian Braswell, who, the Jags, people are saying that in the Jags building are saying they're really high on Braswell. We've seen those flashes. I know he had the interception versus Dallas. He was just kind of playing inside, playing inside, read the pick versus Greer really well. So between both Greg Jr. and Braswell, I'm be very surprised if they don't both make the roster. And I think given their preseason play, they have to. And even another guy like Hallett, he was a little more up and down. Like Detroit, he let up a touchdown, but then he had the really nice. It was very funny where
Go
Hallett kind
drag
of stole the
swag.
pick. He
Yeah.
kind of stole the pick from Braswell, but everybody's fighting for his spot. So
Yeah.
you gotta do what you gotta do to stand out. So it was good to see Hallett flash. So just like the DB depth, I'm like, before the start of the season, I would have been, kind of like how many six rounders are going to develop into being legit players. But, we're seeing it start to pay off. So good coaching. Good job,
Yeah, good
Jags.
coaching. Maybe a little bit of a bulky masterclass there. I mean, they're all rookies. They haven't had a real snap yet, but what we've seen so far, hey, against other teams' backups, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty
They
good.
look like they can at least develop into NFL players.
Yeah,
How good will
exactly.
they be is the question. But you've seen enough where it's like, these guys can hang in the NFL, even on it's with a lesser level. So it's definitely encouraging to see.
Yeah, we all want those guys like a Mike Hilton or I don't know, any other like late round corner that turns into like a decent NFL starter, maybe like a Justin Jackson or whoever
The
that's,
Chiefs are getting like late round rookies to play well, which is if we could, we want to be the Chiefs in a lot of areas, but that's one area especially. If we could
yeah.
get late round production out of defensive players, that'll help a lot.
Yeah, especially since this team just invested on offense so early. And yeah, let's go talk about those day two picks that we took in both Bretton Strange and in Tank Bigsby. And Bretton Strange, I mean, I know we were begging for a blocking tight end and the ones that we wanted, like I was a big Darnell Washington guy. So I
I don't
saw
want
that we took
Darnell, but
Strange. Yeah, but Strange, he's been kind of that guy throughout the preseason too.
Range has flashed. I think, oh, that's another point I wanted to mention. Like overall, not just Strange, but how it's so obvious how we did not see this coming. Like a Doug
Mhm.
Peterson offense using more 12 and 13 personnel. Like it's like Doug is like,
He loves
it's
this. Yeah.
it's so funny because in Philadelphia, that was all anybody could talk about. It was like Doug Peterson. Oh, he uses all these tight ends, Zach Ertz, Trey Burton, Brent Selleck, Dallas Scott, like all these tight ends that are using. I think it's Jacksonville, and he's like he doesn't use 12 as much because of just the personnel. Like with Man Hurts, he's going to block only. But
Hmm.
this year, we saw even in preseason, he was using 12 and 13 personnel, which I thought was super interesting. And like, not only Strange, but Farrell looks, Strange
He
and
does
Farrell look they're
both.
good
Yeah.
blockers.
Yeah, they both, especially Farrell. Yeah, he's a very, very good blocker. It's
Even in
funny. Funny story about Luke Farrell. My brother, who had jury duty, some point last season before the season, last year before the season started, Luke Farrell was in the same jury as
NFL
he was.
players they have to do jury. They don't get an excuse for
Yeah,
that.
they don't, and he has his phone number too. So we
I
could,
guess
you know
I
what?
guess if it's in the
Do you wanna
season.
ask and see if we can get Luke Farrell on? That'd be so funny if he makes the 53. Be like, hey,
I know
Luke,
he's making the
come on.
53 for sure.
Oh
He's making
yeah,
the 50.
he
The
played
fact that
well.
even
Yeah,
in the Miami game, like he
two
has more
catches, right?
catches than he has more catches than Evan Ingram, which that's a very Doug Peterson offense. He's like, I'm gonna use Ingram as a decoy a lot of games. He's like, yeah, Luke Farrell, baby.
Yeah, I
God, I
mean,
love
but
that
when you have a
guy.
quarterback like Trevor that can just zip it in there, like no problem, any little window, he'll take advantage.
So stupid. But no, Strange and Ingram have looked. I mean, well, Ingram. I don't even say he's looked bad. I feel like
Yeah,
he's just been the quiet guy because he really hasn't
he
done that
already
much.
he earned his money. He knows his spot. He knows his role. He's not gonna complain. he'll get his opportunity to have one of those big games like he did late last year
Yeah,
a
I
lot
think
for us.
with Ingram, I think he's probably going to be like a very boomer bust player, which isn't even itself a bad thing. But because of how Doug's going to use the offense, like, there's so many mouths to feed. So, but even when he goes 13 personnel, he's going to get Ingram, Strange, Farrell, and then Ridley, ISO. So we're going to see those personnels a lot more. I think that was one thing, like even from like the earliest games, in Dallas, Doug Peterson's like, yeah, I'm gonna run up in 12 personnel because I can. So that's another new wrinkle. I know the Chiefs use a lot of that personnel, so obviously, Andy Reid, Doug Peterson. I'm not surprised the inspiration of it, and just Doug's always been a big tight end guy. So I think just seeing how it plays out, we're like, okay, this is another new wrinkle, which is
Hmm.
another reason why I believe we're putting up 35 points a game,
Yeah,
maybe
just so many
40.
different looks that he can do, whether it's from the spread, shotgun offense, to that 12, 13 personnel that we saw a lot of during the preseason. It's just it's a lot of things, and especially with the versatility running back now with ETN and with Tank Bigsby. Besides the one fumble, Tank Bigsby couldn't have had a better preseason.
Tank has, yeah. If Tank scores that, like if Tank scores a touchdown instead of fumbling, fantasy people are like, oh my gosh, like maybe we should draft T10 as high because Tank is really good. But just even like watching a couple of the runs, like Tank being able to break, more arm tackles. I just think this running game is going to be a headache to prepare. Like not only, most times you're gonna have to play with two safeties deep and two safeties deep because you don't want to get burned over the top with Ridley now and Trevor. So you're gonna be playing with a lighter box more often than not. And then if you do that, Doug's gonna be like, okay, well, we're just gonna run the ball like every time because we can. I don't care.
Or Evan Ingram's open in the middle of the field, or Christian Kirk is open in the middle of the field. Oh, there's A Jones with the five
Oh
yard hitch
man.
route that's open too. Like that just seems like I don't know. I don't know if we're just are putting our bias glasses on or anything, but for what we see in
Oh,
the
these bias
preseason,
glasses are definitely. I can't take them off now.
yeah, I know. I mean, when you go what? I mean, yeah, this preseason, but undefeated. But when the first team start, like whatever anybody else says about us, when the first team offense is on that field, they just looked good, and they have played now against another first team defense, and we dog walked them the two possessions that they were on the field for. So hey, I'm just saying.
I'm trying to think if there's any other players on besides all the depth receivers we can get to very soon.
Yeah,
Are there
Anton.
any
Let's talk about Anton.
look good?
Yeah. Though just like a couple like there's like a player to every single game that he's played so far where he has like that very rookie slip up where somebody kind of, puts in a good move on him, or he had like a holding call too, I think during the last game. But other than like some like common rookie mistakes, solid, 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 solid
Yeah,
right
I'm
tackle.
very pleased with progress for Anton. I mean, we'll see how the shoulder, dinks him up. I think more so, I'm just really excited to see what Anton will do. I know I don't want to look too far ahead,
Yeah.
but I just know year two of Anton, like once he gets the shoulder fully healthy and he has another year of after being a rookie, I think he's going to be a stud. So even the fact is showing this year a lot of flashes, and I think Rauscher's a pretty good O line coach, I'll say, because even the backup O line is You look around a lot of the NFL, the landscapes, most backup offensive lines are pretty terrible. I'd say ours is, considering it's a backup offensive line, we're able to get a good push in the running game for most parts. So I think the O line itself has done a pretty good job. Speaking of O line, a player who hasn't always been in my best graces, been an up and down preseason, Cam Robinson. But
Yeah.
I do think Walker not playing kind of helped Cam out on the game versus the Dolphins.
Oh
You
yeah,
guys
we
see
had to
Cam
be
and
yeah,
Barch.
had to be forced there back to left tackle. I was like, all right, go back, go back out there and get your reps. Didn't allow any pressure or sacks, I think. So
The Detroit game was not great, but Miami
yeah.
he definitely cleaned it up a little better. So we'll see. Because I mean, I will say Cam and Barch looked great in the running game, especially on
Oh
that
yeah.
ETN touchdown. They're just blowing people off line of scrimmage. So you know they're gonna have a lot of tinkering to do once Cam gets back. But I will say at least this game he looked a lot better. So we'll see how everything handles. I am curious to see how Walker would have looked next to Barch, but we'll see that in 2 weeks. So
Yeah, I mean the O line is pretty much set week one, because we get Lock
And a
Walker's
little
gonna
bit
be back.
healthier.
Yeah, exactly. So Walker, yeah, Walker, Barch, Fortner, Sheriff, and Anton. That's basically we've known this basically since the first week, and it was just a question of whether if Ben Barch got back from the pup list, and he did pretty early on. We just know already. Now it's trying to see what it looks like in action in 2 weeks.
Very glad that, Barch is able to come back and, he's able to, I think the fact that he's able to play in a preseason game was huge, just being able
Yeah,
to get reps. And the fact that he looked good on those reps, his first game back in 10 months, this line might be able to move some people in the run game. So
yeah. I mean, I think they put it on the back of their shirts too early in training camp. The ESPN
31st.
31st.
Yeah, you can tell. You can tell they're. I really wonder who was the one who told the O. Like, was it somebody outside
Or
the
was
Jags
it, yeah,
org?
that told Rauscher, like, hey, man, they said your
Yeah,
game is 31st, man.
they think you guys are trash, bro.
Yeah.
And he was like,
What's
bet.
that Michael Irvin quote that you said before?
Which one?
Oh,
There's a
where it
lot
was
of
like,
Mike Irvin quotes.
yeah, where it's like, where they're doubting or whatever. I can't remember the quote of the top. Yeah, there you
Nobody believes
go.
in you.
Yeah.
What are you prepared to do about it?
That was probably Rauscher the entire offseason for that O line. Hey, second worst offensive line unit in the league. I bet. Time to get to work.
Then I guess speaking one last thing, going back to kind of like the running game in tandem. Dearness Johnson is running back three, and you can't convince me
Oh
otherwise.
no, absolutely. That's the thing, though. I think, yeah, we could talk about predictions later, but I think we keep three running backs and four tight ends instead of vice versa. I'm kind of,
That one's kind of like tricky. I
yeah,
think to me, yeah, we'll talk about a little later, but it's like Garrett Prince versus Hasty because
yeah.
I think they value Hasty as a pass catcher and as a special teamer, but I
But
also think Dearness
the
can.
Ernest
I think he
also
can
does the
handle.
same. Yeah,
I think it's really the pass catching aspect that Hasty has him beat by. So if Dearness is able to make a little bit of ground, I don't even think Hasty played terrible per se, but Dearness just has more juice as a runner. Like, that touchdown he had, like, well, we had versus the Lions. The second one, he's like running out of bounds and he got popped and still be able to balance on the sideline. That was a beautiful touchdown. Like, dude, between ETN, Tank, and Dearness, we have three running backs who I think can do a really good job of just being able to run the ball. And I mean, I think Hasty's still solid.
yeah.
If you ask me,
Yeah, I
like,
like
who's
Hasty too, but that's the thing though. It's like Ernest can kind of do more running and he can do that special team stuff that Hasty already can do. It just depends what you want to do. Because, like we talked about earlier, Doug loves his tight ends, and they also praise Garrett Prince all the preseason or all the training camp and then preseason as well. He had some flashes then and there, but he just didn't produce like Farrell did or Strange did. They just start, I guess, I should say, just pop out more like the other two tight ends did. But that's just something
I
you're
mean,
gonna have to see.
also because I think probably just given the role, because similar with Engram, Engram didn't really pop out as much. Really more so the blocking tight ends throughout this preseason. So I don't know if that's indicative of just the play calling or if Prince himself just, didn't get open that much. But I don't want to look in too much in Prince being quiet this preseason because of
Yeah,
how Doug used the tight ends.
yeah.
Um,
And from what I've seen in that 1 day training camp I went to, like he was targeting the red zone. He was making good catches back of the end zone. Like just from my eye test, he looks like he got a little juice in him. Going up against the backups that perform well against other teams. So, you never know. It's maybe just me having maybe he had one very good day, but I think other media members talked about him too early on during training camp. So
I
we'll
mean,
see.
definitely been a lot of Prince hype, but I guess we'll see because really depending on who they keep at the receivers, I think they could use another red zone option possibly.
Hmm.
But I guess that's kind of a segue in terms of the receivers themselves because I don't know if you've seen this depth chart, John, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of good players under wide receiver for Jags, which
And there's
normally
gonna be, yeah, I agree.
most times it's not this way. Where dog, even just 2 years ago, we were literally watching
Laquan Treadwell,
we
Tavon
were watching
Austin, and
Laquan
Marvin
Treadwell.
Jones. Tavon Austin and Marvin Jones Jr. Marvin Jones Sr. Via Jr. Right? Marvin Jones Jr.
I don't
Jr.
even know.
A
It's
lot of
just
Marvin
hilarious.
Jones. Yeah. How did we get
There was
this
just
far?
well, we fired the receivers coach. So
Oh,
that helps a
Sanjay.
lot.
Was it Sanjay or
I don't
Singh?
want to talk about him.
Oh, Sanjay.
But just, I think in terms of like the guys they've added, and it's crazy because even last year, like they added Kendrick Pryor, who was a sixth guy. He never really played that much, but he was like, he was inactive on the 53-man roster though. And he was our wide receiver six last year.
Hmm.
He might make the practice. Like I think he probably is going to be on the practice squad because I don't think he's making the roster, which just goes to show
No,
you how much talent. Because even just going back to some of the guys they did add, like in the Elijah Cooks, who I think is probably the guy who I want to make it. Either Elijah Cooks and Jacob Harris because Harris went to UCF, so go Knights. But
of
I
course,
think
charge on. Yeah.
those two just provide the most value in terms of like deep threat ability. I mean, I feel like there's also a lot of deep threats. That's also really the thing, because Harris had the nice catch in Dallas.
Hmm.
Um, Elijah Cooks, I think he averaged at one point. Actually, I can ESPN still has like the stats, but Elijah Cooks is averaging like 20 yards a catch or something like stupid.
Yeah.
He literally was averaging more yards after the catch than some guys are averaging like per catch. It was ridiculous. Yeah, he literally Elijah he last game he had like a regular, 3 for 35, a regular preseason stat line. Um but his preseason stats, dude, he's literally averaging 21 yards a catch in the preseason
Yeah.
at 6'4", 215. Like he can move. He's a fun dude. Harris is good. Seth Williams is another guy who had that
Yeah.
great catch on the Dolphins. And Tim Jones, he had the one drop
Ah.
in the red zone, but ultimately, I think Tim Jones has had besides that one drop, Tim Jones has had a very good preseason. Not only in terms of obviously he had the big catch, he had a deep catch in Detroit, which that catch was beautiful. But the
Hmm.
throw was great too. Like Beathard, he's got some shit this preseason from work fans, but that
Yeah.
was a great throw by Beathard, and then Tim Jones caught it with like tight coverage, and then versus Cam Smith, who a lot of people wanted the Jags to draft.
They burned him.
Um, so
Toasted him.
and
Left him.
even I think with Tim Jones, like the highlight's always the run blocking. Like that's always one thing. I
Yeah.
I think it was in Detroit. He had like a really big block to spring tank outside on a 17-yard run. So my guess is Tim Jones is probably the one making the roster
He's a
because
wide
he's a very
receiver six.
versatile
Yeah.
guy.
And he
But
does
at the
special
same,
teams and he does the run block. He does the nasty
dude,
work.
I think I feel like if we kept Elijah Cooks and stashed him, he would be like a monk. Not even like 1,000 yards, obviously, but in terms of like what they don't have, like a true height, weight, speed guy,
Yeah.
that would be great. Same with Harris, but man, there's so many receivers.
I know. You're just happy talking about it. I don't blame you though, because we pretty much sure that the five guys that are locked in right now are the three guys that are going to be out there the most, which is going to be Ridley, Jones, Kirk, and then you have the two special team gadget guys in Agnew and Washington. So it's just trying to find out who's that last guy on this roster.
My guess is probably Tim Jones, but
Yeah.
I think there's a non-0% chance that like if I had to pick between three guys, it probably would be either Seth Williams, Jacob
Yeah.
Harris, or Elijah Cooks.
Yeah. That isn't Tim Jones.
If I
But
had to pick
that's
three guys
four.
between Tim Jones, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, four guys that you just named that could be wide receiver six.
My guess is I still think it's Tim
It's
Jones
gonna be
mainly
Tim
because of the
Jones.
blocking,
Yeah,
but hey man, I think whoever they pick, there's not really like a bad option unless like Kendrick Pryor. Even I don't even want to shit on Kendrick Pryor because I obviously he was on the team last year, so they liked
yeah.
something from him. It was just, he really didn't he had one catch for 20 yards in the preseason. So
I just like the
I'd be
story where Press Taylor took him from his brother Zach in Cincinnati, and then Zach got mad and was like, "Dude, what the hell?"
that was a
So
funny story, yeah.
I wanted to stash him on the practice squad. What the hell? You'll always have that for last season.
Yeah. I think that's really the hilarious thing is going to see who's on the practice squad because even like Justine Anderson was saying, like people were calling the Jags about the receivers, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, where
The
we
same
were.
team that
Yeah.
2 years ago was giving Laquan Treadwell and Tavon Austin snaps. Teams are like, hey, can we get your wide receiver eight?
Sure. At this
So
point, I wouldn't hate it.
I guess we'll see who's on the practice squad and who doesn't make it. But I guess there's anybody else on offense we want to talk about. We didn't talk about Rourke yet, so I don't know if you want to
I mean,
do
we
the
kind of have to,
Maple,
right?
the
Do you think?
Mahomes.
Yeah, Maple Mahomes. I know. What was I forgot what Trevor's nickname for him was. I remember someone said it
I'm
earlier.
not sure. That would be funny though.
Yeah,
I didn't realize
Trevor
you know
gave him
Terrell.
a nickname. That's a Mia O'Brien question, who may or may not talk to tomorrow. So we can ask her if he makes the roster or not.
I mean, by that time we'll know considering once you
Yeah,
record. So
yeah, that's
my
true.
my guess is I think they could practice squad him because like not a lot of teams are going to carry two quarterbacks and they're not going to want to give the backup role to a 25-year-old rookie. But
Yeah,
maybe a team that's really desperate like can
the
snag him.
Cardinals. Oh my
Nah,
God, what are
he's
they
too
doing in
good. He's too
Arizona?
good.
Yeah,
We
that's
we can
right.
talk about the Cardinals later. They traded Isaiah Simmons for a seventh round pick. They traded a top 8 draft pick for a seventh rounder.
Not even we could get a third round for CJ Henderson. We could even get a sixth
To then
rounder
trade a
for
fifth
we can get a
round.
sixth rounder for LaVisca Chenault, who was a second round pick. Like
Then they then
what are we
traded
doing?
a fifth round pick for Joshua Dobbs. What are we doing, people?
Hey,
Okay, we're
Dave Caldwell traded us a fifth round pick for Joshua Dobbs too. So hey, they want the number one pick. That's how you do it. You have to trade a fifth for Joshua Dobbs. You want Caleb Williams? You trade a fifth for Joshua Dobbs.
oh man,
Big Josh Dobbs fan though. He was a good person for Fanatics apparently when he was here in Jax. He's a good guy.
we're big Josh Dobbs fans here.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Week 18 especially. That's my favorite Josh Dobbs moment
I think that's everyone's favorite Josh. I think that's like the only Josh Dobbs moment you
that
could
we
list
got.
that's
Oh,
not
we
him
figured him out after
intentionally.
the first half, and when we was forced to pass, he crumpled like a paper ball, like we all expected. Oh, we
Also,
took
I
the
just
lead. Okay, we got it. That's pretty much how it went during the champion that basically for the title or his
also just
divisional
want
title.
to say Samuel Jackson hardly knew ye, but
Who was Sam Jackson? Who is he?
he played at UCF.
Oh yeah, that's right. Charge on. I'm bad. I'm my bad. That's your guy. I
And
apologize.
but I think that's mainly it for the O line. I mean, in terms of like guys on the edges, like the backup O line, the only people who I would are gonna predict now is probably like Blake Hance,
Yeah.
obviously Shatley, and then I don't know what they're gonna do with Josh Wells yet. It's still kind of to be determined. I think maybe they might try to stash him or like wait, I don't know. But we can talk more about the final roster decisions tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
I
hard to really, because as like fans, you don't really look at O-line a lot. We could, but like, yeah, that's not my
the only look at
specialty.
O line when they're actively doing bad. If they're
Yeah.
getting holding calls.
Or
Other
like
than
guys getting the quarterback killed, which hey, do you even remember quarterbacks getting hit all preseason? I don't think.
Carolina, the only preseason, the worst O line play was literally Cam when he had that bad holding
Yeah,
call
that's true.
versus Okora. But other than that,
Or when Rourke had to get like three or four guys off to make a
they
touchdown. Yeah, that's
Rourke
the only.
just Rourke said O line, I need you to suck a little bit so that I can look better. I need to break a
Hold
few
on, watch
tackles.
this.
So
Purposely not block. Let me
he
do something
said,
real
"Give me
quick.
harder." He said, "Give me harder battles so I can prove myself."
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
blame him though. I mean, that play is gonna be remembered. He's gonna be able to
Forever.
show his kids that play, his
Yeah.
grandkids that play.
Yeah, I was in the NFL, kids. This is what I did, you sons of bitches.
But I guess that's mainly it for offense.
Yeah,
Is there any
we have to talk about the pass rush, right? I know you're kind of holding back for a bit. We gotta talk about it, right?
talk about what
The pass rush. We gotta finally talk about it, right? How do you
after
still
the
feel?
Detroit game, dude? I just full blown, full on. He who shall not be named
Nah,
rant is
come
incoming.
on. He's gonna make the roster.
I
He's
know
gonna make
that's
the
the
roster.
worst. Dude, they already cut Jordan Smith.
Yeah,
He's
the bet's
making the
already
roster.
started. It's started. This is gonna
He's
start in 2
making.
weeks.
I
The bet
remember
starts
watching.
soon.
No, I need to go. If we did a live recap of that Detroit
Oh,
game,
I
dude,
wish we
literally
were live streaming that. Yeah.
the first play of the game, this man 45 literally is unblocked off the edge, misses the tackle, and then Ledbetter, gets the sack. And Sexton was like saying, like
And then
Chason was
yeah, the
there.
chase on was immediately hyped up after. It's like, bro, you missed the easiest sack you're gonna have in your life.
I
All you gotta do is just stand in front of him. You can like legit stop and stand
he
in front
was
of him. Yeah.
unblind.
You can legit stand and stop in front, and the quarterback will probably fall down and be like, okay, 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 okay. You know? How
I,
did he?
I I'm not even trying to like just be a hater. I think it was the fact that Sexton hyped. He's like, yeah, Chase on. It was a pod I was listening to Jags, and like Chase on, was around. If he get the sack, he would have been listed great. And I mean, like, yeah, if he got the sack, it would have been great. If my if my aunt had balls, she's
Yeah.
my uncle. Like, what are
Yeah,
we doing
exactly.
here, bro? Like,
That's
I'm
that's
not even
legit the
trying to be a hater, but
yeah.
if as an NFL player you're given a free rush and then you miss the sack, that's not an impressive rep to me. And then even
Yeah.
like the other reps he had in that Detroit game, like because he played a lot, it was either like he tried to like do a speed to power and like bull rush into the quarterback, and he was like kind of getting pressure. Like the right tackle was moving back a little bit, or he tries to like the speed to power. But every speed to power, he would like end up on the ground, like trying to reach for the quarterback. And it's like, yeah, he was getting like pressures, but I'm I'm not really impressed. So Yasir Abdullah, yeah, it's all on
Our
YouTube. You're
boy.
H3.
That's actually the good pass rusher we do know that we have probably. Hopefully. Just Flash though. Fifth
I
round
mean,
rookie. All I can ask for.
yeah. I mean, all you have to do is just get like 2 sacks this year, and you've already doubled his career. I don't want to say too much, but I mean, I guess in terms of what else we saw, like from the starters, we really didn't see too much. Obviously, I thought from what we saw, like the first team defensive line. Well, I mean, Devon and Folu didn't play that much in the
Hmm.
Dolphins game, so they were banged up. But I thought the first team, like the front seven, was pretty solid. They allowed that big run to
Yeah. Great preseason
Salvon.
from Ledbetter, by the way. He took off that
Yeah,
spot for was it Fadakasi being that nose guy, and hey, very solid. I can't complain. I'm very happy.
I mean, yeah, Ledbetter is definitely like he's bounced around the league, just like practice squads a lot. I know he played in Tampa, so he's familiar with Caldwell and the staff. So I think it's kind of why. I mean, I think the interior D line is definitely a little underrated in
Yeah.
terms of being able to step in.
I
I
mean,
think one guy.
we were top five stopping the run last year, right? It was just stopping the pass that was always our biggest issue.
It was really just sacking. It wasn't even really
Yeah.
pressuring. It was just getting sacks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess we'll see in terms of like the other pass rush. One guy I'm curious if he makes it or not, Deshaun Dixon. I know the coaching staff is pretty high on him,
Yeah.
so I don't know if he's going to be. I guess since Smoot isn't back yet, they can keep another body. So,
Yeah. So Dixon
I,
will probably be that guy since he had a lot of rep toward the end of last season too.
yeah, I mean they kept him. I think they want to kind of do similar like with Arden Key, how he played inside and out. So my guess is Deshaun will kind of be on the roster. I would be surprised if Gotsis got cut.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Tyler
either.
Lace Tyler Lacey, I didn't really see him play too much, but I feel like what I heard he was pretty solid.
Yeah.
And he's like a 4th round
Yeah.
rookie.
They'll keep him. They like him.
So yeah, I think the D line, even I don't think he's gonna make the team, but Raymond Vahasik, I think if you can like stash him on the practice squad, let him develop, I think he kind of pops him. So I
Yeah.
think Vahasik's kind of a guy, okay, you're looking at the D line. And obviously I think a lot of the D line itself you have to see how they all communicate in the games with the starters, with the coverage is the most important thing. You need some good coverage to get good pass rush and vice versa. So we'll see how they all intertwine. I'm like cautiously optimistic on the D line. I don't think it'll be a huge strength, but just in terms of being able to obviously getting a lead and then making the defense pass more. I think they can at the very least, even if they don't get a bunch of sacks, the one thing I've seen continue is that they'll still get turnovers because the Jags defense just gets turnovers somehow.
We don't know how. They're just
Mike
part of the
Caldwell,
defense.
baby.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can say a lot about him as a coordinator, but the guys are around the football.
For real.
Even in the preseason, I think they had at least 2 turnovers in every preseason game. At least one, but maybe at
Yeah.
least two.
I think two. I think two every game. It sounds
It
about
was really
right.
just the Detroit game. I don't know if there was another. I know Greg Jr. had the first pick. There might have been a second one, but I mean, yeah, the turnovers have been pretty good for this team. So if we can even just, keep the lead and then just get a couple turnovers a game, I don't know if you don't want to bank on that too much, but
Yeah.
I think the defense is doing its part so far. Like we said, the guys in the back end have played better. So pass rush, we'll see. 45 if he's on the field, I'm not holding my breath for any
Five
sacks. But
number, the magic number. The magic number. We got a magic number right here. Right here. For
I'm still not. Well, I'm not. The
I'm
more I
not
watch his tape, the more I
yeah.
feel good about the bet not paying through. So
But when he gets that first one, however early that is, because he's the third pass rusher on this roster right now. He's gonna be getting a lot of snaps. So we have to see. We
he's
have
going to
to
be getting a
see.
lot of snaps. I
Yeah.
can't say if he's going to be getting a lot of sacks, but
Let's we let's just bully more until he does, I guess. But hey, we got to talk about. I think one of the players that popped out to me every time I was on the field was the guy with the neck roll. We got to talk about Devin Lloyd. Is he back? Is Devin Lloyd back?
oh, I mean, we'll see. I mean, he did on the big run versus Miami. He did kind of miss the tackle, which got to the edge. So
That's
I'm
true.
not going to cook him too much for that because every linebacker is going to miss, especially versus a very speedy guy on the edge.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I mean, I really think the biggest thing for Lloyd himself was just getting reps and confidence. And we heard in training camp how he was like showing up to like optional like days. Like, he was like, I'm gonna put in as much work as I can. So I think he's definitely been going full on grinder. It's been paying off. I don't know, like the neck roll as a linebacker ranked 33, it's like
It's
it's
weird.
so weird. That's what I'm saying, man. It's like you see a 33 as a linebacker. I don't even hate the number, but like you
But
see that on a
the neck roll, you got to be good though. You got to be good if you're a linebacker rocking the neck roll,
I,
especially in 2023.
my thing with linebackers rocking neck rolls is that it's such like a throwback aesthetic that if you have a neck roll, I like immediately assume that like you are like elite at stopping the run and can't cover like a looking pass coverage. Like you just
Yeah.
scream, I am a 1970s middle linebacker, baby. If you
I
do a
am
play action
Jack
fake,
Ham. I am Jack Lambert. Like I am 70s Pittsburgh Steeler linebacker coming toward you.
basically. So we'll see how the aura is with the neck roll, but
Yeah. That's a
I mean, look,
positive vibe though. I was like, hey, when I saw the neck roll first time, I was like, ooh, that's kind of a vibe.
I mean
That's
Lloyd
definitely a vibe.
Lloyd at least looks he's in the spot to make the play. So even if he's not making all the plays, he's definitely in the spot. And I think more often than not, as long as he's in the right place, he'll make a good play. So I'm
We're
pretty
hoping.
optimistic, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's still have Muma in the back, so it's like you just need one of those guys to pan out, but ideally both would be great.
Oh yeah, especially since Foyer, we'll see how he does. He'll probably be up there in tackles again, if not back to back to back tackle leader of the NFL. But well, he has his, downfalls of pass coverage, but stopping the run, just being there, being the guy to finish tackles when we get the first contact or the running back. Solid as always. Solid as
Foye
always.
reminds me so much of just like a modern day pause
Yeah.
where he may not be astute in coverage, but he knows so much of where like you can tell with Foye, he knows so much of where to be at the right time that
Yeah.
even like I remember like even when he's getting beaten coverage, it's not so much he's like 5 steps behind. He's like a little he's close to the play. So I think Foye will have a good year, rack up great in the run game. Is there I don't think there's any other like I guess the backup linebacker spot, Ventrell's on the IR now, so
Yeah.
that's
So
probably gonna be Shaq,
maybe
maybe
Caleb
Caleb
Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah, yeah.
If he ran in that touchdown for if he ran that home for a touchdown, he absolutely would have made it. But he tripped to like the midfield, so he's on the edges. But
Yeah. Yeah, but
I will say for Ventrell, we were very low on him, but he's
yeah.
looked better than I thought. Which
Yeah.
I had low expectations.
But
So
he had like 2 sacks in the preseason. It's like, oh, and apparently he
that
was getting into fights with coaching staff and other players. So like,
more sacks than somebody else who played this preseason. But don't tell him. I'm just saying. Take care, dude. When he gets to 5 sacks, oh my goodness.
we
But
can't. I don't want to spend that money either, but it'd be funny if we had to.
oh
That's all
my,
I'm gonna
that
say.
would be the stupidest pod bit. Oh my gosh, bro. But
5.
I guess that's most of like the linebackers. Rest in peace, Jordan Smith. We hardly
Yeah.
knew. I'm just saying though, Jordan Smith had that one play where he almost got a strip sack. That was a better pass rush rep than I saw. But hey, the coaching staff wants to keep him, so
They like him, apparently. I mean, show it, please. I'm begging. We are literally on our knees. We're on our hands or knees. God, please. Something.
I guess that's mainly it in terms of
The pass
the.
rush defense, and we already talked about secondary. Special
Well,
teams is
we can talk a little bit more about like the
special team.
corners.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think just like a full on like breakdown.
secondary, I mean, great. All of our late round picks, they all had something to show for it too. Like we talked about earlier. Hallett, Braswell.
Except for my guy Buster Brown.
Yeah, Buster
He's getting
Brown.
cut.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we didn't even talk about Greg Jr., but hey, I mean, we talked about it earlier, but like leading up to the preseason, we didn't expect a lot of Greg Jr., but he looked like the best out of that bunch. He's the one who kind of shined the most out of all those corners we've taken over the past 2 years.
So like I think my scouting is terrible because like last like the 2022 draft when we drafted Greg and Buster Brown, I was like, okay, like who the hell is Gregory Jr.? This guy's like no aura. Buster Brown, that's a football name. And then the same thing this year. I was like, who the hell is Christian Braswell? Like Eric Hallett, yeah, I like this guy. And then probably both Brown and Hallett are gonna get cut. Well, Greg Jr.'s like flashed, and Braswell's looked really good for like pretty good for a day three rookie corner. So what the hell do I know about football?
I mean, that's it.
Maybe I am wrong, and Chason will have a breakout year. Okay,
Oh God.
let me be realistic.
Yeah, we gotta be realistic. I trust the young corner over Chase on at this point if we had to go with someone with a breakout year. Like maybe that slot corner, maybe, oh no, Trey Herndon is kind of down. Oh no, we have to play Greg Jr. for a few snaps. Oh wait, he gets a
I'm just
pick. Like
I'm
first
really
first time he's on there. That would be something, wouldn't it?
I'm wondering. Oh man, I'm wondering how tight the leash with Herndon is because obviously I don't even think he's played bad. But when you have a guy like Greg Jr. who's got a lot of who's played well in camp and then played that well to getting around the ball and having some moments in coverage, you know, I think with Herndon, he'll play better just in terms of him getting more accustomed to the nickel spot, he'll play better. Because remember last year he did play outside to start. So I think having the full camp as a nickel will help him. But I'm just curious as to, if Herndon as the nickel, if it's a little bit shaky, are they going to make the switch in week 5, week 8? Like because I think sooner than later they want to see what they have. Like obviously they like Herndon because he's a vet, but you draft all these young guys for a reason. So
Hmm.
and just with injuries as a whole, some of the young guys might see the field. So if let's say Greg Jr. I mean I don't know. We'll see if Greg
Yeah,
Jr.
or even if
maybe has to
like
fill in.
yeah, it's not even like if say like yeah, one of the outside corners, like if a Tyson or a Darius gets kind of banged up a bit and Trey Hearn has to go back outside for a little bit, then because he's played there before for us, somebody has to fill in that inside corner position. Of course, you don't ever want that to happen, but it's like, oh well, someone's got to go in here. It's just a beast of the NFL. The injuries are bound to happen, and you're gonna have to play some younger guys sooner than you want to.
I definitely think it's a good problem to have because you have two guys who are good on the outside. I mean, Herndon should play. I think just in terms of competition too, like he knows he's heard everything of how well Greg's played. He's probably seen everything. So in his mind, he's like, I gotta play my best because the moment I slip up, I've got a young guy who's trying to get some snaps to establish himself as a player. So man,
He
it'll be
made plays. He
interesting.
made plays all preseason too. So like, shit. My leash. Let's see how long my leash is. But I don't want to ever make that leash be, and be. Well, there you go.
We'll see. I am pretty curious to see what happens. And then I guess we talked about the corners. Now they're too much on the safeties, but I feel like they didn't really have too much to talk about. I mean,
Yeah, there
I
wasn't
feel like
like
they,
one to like burn or whatever.
yeah, I feel like the safety room. I guess the only question is,
How many?
are they going to keep 4 or 5? Because
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they would want to keep Antonio.
Hmm.
I just don't know because they like Daniel Thomas. I think he's a good special teamer. Like he dived on a forced fumble caused by Greg Jr.
Hmm.
So, and obviously Antonio had the hamstring injury, so maybe he gets like PUP. I don't know, but we'll see once the final roster spots come out. But I am just very curious. But even just, as a whole, very pleased with how the roster looks. Once the cuts come out, we'll see how they trim everything. But good roster.
Yeah. Special teams too. Kicker, he can kick long. McManus, great.
I,
Logan
I
Cook,
wish we
best
saw
punter in the
McManus.
NFL.
I wish we saw McManus like 57-yard kick, bro. That would have been like amazing.
Yeah, but he's done it preseason too. Whatever he's been out there, made everything great. Logan Cook, when he's on there, he's still booming.
Rest in peace to dude, who was the long snapper?
Oh, Carson Tinker
Rest in Carson Tinker.
was there for 1 week and then never to be seen again. Blast from the past.
I guess Ross Madisick is okay. Shout out to Ross Madisick for the forced fumble though. That was
That's right. He's put his body on the line for us.
he
That's
put
what he
his
don't understand.
body on the line in preseason, bro.
Exactly. You love that. You love that. All right. What else you want to talk about? I mean, we pretty much gone through everything. If you want to do like a little 53-man prediction, we could, but I think we're just, undefeated. Anything could happen. I guess we can see like how many per position we think's gonna be there, but I don't know, like if you want to really like name names. I think it's just more
Uh,
the
I
kind
th-
of what it would look like toward the end of it.
yeah. I mean, I think since the cuts are gonna happen soon, more. I'm not too worried. We could. I have like a good idea. I guess if anything, we could try to think of like 3 or 4 guys on the bubble that we want to see on the team make it. Even if you don't think they will make it, that you want to see make it.
Like guys I want to see make the roster. I mean, just for like, I don't know, or guys who I don't want to make it. Now that's we like the super anti-agenda. Should we just be super negative? We just have the agenda against
I
anyone.
mean, if we're being super negative, then I think they're going to keep Claybrooks on the roster, and I'm going to be very much just like, bro. I
Oh,
know he
that's
can play
the
special teams.
but kind of a trash human being. I won't say
That
that
too,
part
yeah.
super out loud, but I I can't justify
I mean,
keeping him.
I forgot. I was just speaking like strictly like on the field. Like he was kind of getting cooked in camp, so
Yeah, he's one of the anti-agenda guys for sure.
like Cam, the last preseason game, I'm like, okay, I'll give him a bit of a pass. We'll see. I am really curious if he's going to like come back week 5 or like in
Or at
London.
all.
So and then yeah, I mean, I already know 45 is going to make the roster. I I mean, again,
We don't know.
they say special teams is the reason he's making it, which
You're a
I
first round
understand.
pick throwing
You're
in
a first
special
round.
teams.
This is one of the most expensive gunners in the league. Oh my god.
Uh, sorry, they have to.
I'm trying to think of
They
when
have
he would
to.
be able to get like his first sack, like his year. Like what week does he get his yearly sack?
He
And then
always
we're
plays
like,
well against the Texans
I feel like
because that's his
either
hometown
it's
team,
either the Texans or
or the
Titans.
Titans, or the Titans
Yeah,
too.
like two of his sacks are versus the Titans.
Like Titans, yeah.
When are we playing the Titans again?
Late in the season.
Oh man.
It's like after the bye week and then like the last game of the season. Can you imagine you guys had fifth sack last game of the season where you had
Oh
to
my.
be
Oh, can you imagine if like the fifth sack is like a game sealing strip sack?
the
Oh my.
$200 sack, baby, the four
Oh
hundred
my.
dollar sack for both of us combined.
We play Tennessee. We play at Tennessee. Well, no, it's at home week
First,
11, and then at Tennessee is week 18. If if Caleb Jason has a game sealing sack to beat the Titans, I don't even the amount of emotion.
now we go.
I don't think
Oh
we'd be ready
no.
for it.
Nah, that's just something. That's our doomsday scenario right there. That's
I
like
don't think.
I wouldn't even want to imagine how would we react to that
If
madness.
he has like 4 sacks, he's like, okay, solid, like okay year. And then he gets that fifth sack.
My
No, I
mind would
think
just be like,
No, actually, I think the more stupidest outcome. He has like 0 sacks going to the game, 5 sack game versus Tennessee, and just completely wrecks them.
Oh.
That would
A
actually be
multi,
fake.
just a multi-sack game you're talking, not
If
even
if
just
even
five.
if he has
That's
two
two and
sacks
one.
in a
One.
game,
Yeah.
that would be.
I don't know. We'll have to talk about it during our Colts preview some point next week. But I doubt the Colts O line. I mean, even their best offensive lineman kind of looks like dog shit now. So I don't know. And we
I
have
knew
no
I
rushing
knew Quentin
quarterback.
Nelson
Yeah,
was not that guy when I saw Taven Bryan beat him on like a 4th and 1.
that's
I don't
true.
remember if it was a tackle for loss or a sack, but Taven Bryan recorded a stat versus him,
Tackle
so
for
that
loss.
tells.
He legit like pushed back Jonathan Taylor like 5 or 6 yards after like bullying
Dude, that game
Quentin
was so
Nelson.
stupid, bro. Was it like 6-0, like Colts, like Jags or something?
I think it was no, it wasn't that year. It was the year after where Minshew was the quarterback, where Taven was like going
Uh,
off for no reason.
ever. So yeah, I mean,
That was the pay in game, remember? That he decided to just leave anyways. That game was such a fever trip if you really think about it.
we'll see what 45 can do versus that NDO line. I mean, it's man. I guess
Oh
yeah.
boy.
Like
We have to talk about
we'll,
Indy later on though. There's just a lot to even dissect more and what the Colts are doing right now.
we're gonna see who's scoring the game. Like, is it gonna be Tim Jones that has the garbage time touchdown? Is it gonna be like let me not say garbage time because I'm still nervous about that game.
Yeah, we talked about it early on.
Like I saw a couple of the Colts like other preseason games, and I mean just like they looks like Anthony Richardson. We'll see what he can do.
He's
I think it's a
confident, but he was also playing a third string defense apparently against Philadelphia last week. So and the box score, if you're like a box score watcher, it doesn't really like put a lot of
yeah.
confidence on you.
I mean I think the Colts have some weapons. I'm not the biggest Pittman guy. I mean I know I think
He's solid at the very
Shaq
least. Yeah.
Griffin still sees Alec Pearson as nightmares.
Don't remind me of that game. It made me want to like crush one person's life forever. I shouldn't even
It's
say that.
really I'm really just so the defense I'm more because even like the game we lost, the offense was putting up points on the board, and we so. But I mean, it's a Gus Bradley coach defense, so I know Doug Peterson's just like, oh, this is a layup. Like, thanks for starting the season off. He's licking his chops, bro. I already know.
Like Stephon Gilmore against what? Calvin Ridley? Oh
They
boy,
don't even
yeah.
have Gilmore, like, because they traded him to Dallas.
Oh, did it? Yeah, you're right. Who is even in that second? I don't even know who's on that secondary anymore though.
I can look up their depth. I'm on ESPN. Look at their depth
Let's
chart.
yeah, let's briefly look at it.
Kenny Moore, uh, Darrell Baker. I have never heard of this guy in my life.
Wait,
And a
yeah, let me
couple
go.
rookies. I like Darius Rush, Julius Brents. Oh man, they are young in the secondary. Oh my,
Dallas
yeah.
Flowers, uh, Daryl Baker,
Oh,
Juju Brents, and Darius. What is this? The fact that I don't even know, like
I only know Daryl. I know two of these. Okay, Kenny Moore is a very good nickel. Julius Brents was another like height, weight, speed corner, 3rd round. Oh, they have Jags legend Ronnie Harrison, fourth
they
string safety.
there's no way they have Ronnie Harrison. He's still in the league.
Oh, I completely forgot he was in the league
Ronnie
after we.
he's legit like fourth on this depth chart as strong safety on the Colts website. Ronnie Harrison is still in this league.
Is now Antonio Johnson. I've often said that.
Oh Lord. I mean, yeah, we just gotta worry about the front. I mean, Shaq Leonard's been hurt so many times that I'm not even worried about him if he is healthy. He's
Oh,
still
you
gonna be
just
solid.
just for saying that he's gonna have an interception.
Yeah, I know for sure. He's like I said, how good can he be with all these injuries and like piling up in his career?
That's what's gonna happen one game. They're gonna look at the Colts coaching staff. They're gonna like watch like okay, Jags is coming up to Indy. We gotta block Josh Allen. We gotta block Javon. this 45 kid, he's a scrub. You don't gotta worry about him. And they say that, and
And
that's when
then
he has the
3 sack
breakout.
game, 3 sack game week 1. Can you
If
3 sack game
Chason
week 1?
if Chason had a 3 breakout game week 1, I would
I
be like
know.
scared, but also I'm like, this is
Because
so
we go
fake that
because we
he.
go we go to this and then we go to this. Or we go to this every week.
No,
I'm gonna
it would be
no,
like
yeah.
this. The last one has
Yeah,
the last.
yeah, that's the one for Chase on to us, right? That's Chase on to us, basically. Y'all don't think I can get 5 sacks a season? All right, bet. You're right. But we could
Oh
talk
my
about that
heavens.
later. We could do this again tomorrow when we see the rosters. We're gonna get me O'Brien on to talk to tomorrow. Javal, I have to get ready for a movie in about the top of the hour. So I'm
What
gonna leave you
movie are
for
you
this.
going to see?
We're gonna rewatch Coraline. It has a remastered and a couple extra scenes, I think. Coraline
I've
is a
never actually
classic.
seen Coraline before.
You've never seen Coraline before, Javal.
I've seen like clips of it. I think when it came out, and I never like saw the replay of it. But
Yeah, very spooky, like children's movie though. That's a very like niche kind of genre when it comes to
Nightmare
children's
Before
movie.
Christmas esque
Yeah,
vibes is what I've always seen.
Monster
Oh,
House. Yeah, for
also,
sure.
how was the Spider Verse concert?
So basically, it was a live orchestra performance for the first film, which the music for the first Into the Spider-Verse is just all bangers, no misses. So just having a live orchestra performance with someone on turntables the whole time too. Yeah, it was an orchestra and someone on turntables too, drums, guitar. Bro, it was something special. I'll tell you that.
What a blast! Well,
I know. I mean, I always get goosebumps when I see the "What's Up Danger" scene still for Into the Spider-Verse. That's always like the scene in the movie. You're like, God damn, this is so fucking sick. So, you know,
you know what else makes me fucking sick?
what makes you sick? Bye.
I'm not even gonna. All right, well, I guess by this time tomorrow we'll know the final roster. We'll
Yeah.
be able to make more Trace on jokes. Because
Yeah,
I
we
never.
gotta get Mia in on it too. That we have to tell her our bet and everything. We gotta tell whoever's gonna bring on throughout the season what our bets are gonna
We
be.
have to tell people about the bet so we don't look
Yeah,
like fucking. Well, we look like idiots no matter what if
yeah,
we get the
exactly.
jersey. If we get a custom Santa Cruz jersey.
Yeah, we're the losers for the rest of our lives because we didn't believe and he'll make us believe at that point.
Oh my gosh. All right, well, hope you enjoy your movie.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy
I
the rest of your
guess
night. What plans you got this week? That 2 weeks until Jaguars football. Like, it's weird. We're almost there again. It's another
going
way.
to watch the Calvin Ridley highlight catch every single day until yeah, just until to pass the time.
All
Because that
right.
catch
Broward
is
County
still the greatest.
represent.
That was the greatest catch I've ever seen Jack Seaver make until Ridley does another one next week. So
Exactly. That's all we can say. All right, Javal, thank you for joining me once again. Thank you for everyone that is still here watching the Jagged Edge. We are going to be back tomorrow, 2 in 1 week. I haven't done that in so long. And Javal, that's your first time doing 2 in 1 week.
oh,
So
I'm
it'll be
excited.
fun tomorrow, getting a third person and their insight on the entirety of the preseason and what it would look like. So have a good rest of your night. I'll see you tomorrow, Javal.